I've worked on lots of different areas of graphic design, and branding's really sort of what makes my heart sing, because you cover so much when you're working on a branding job. You're right in there at the beginning and really getting into the depths of sort of what a business is about. One day I could be working on a website, and the next day I'm working on some branding for a burrito bar.
Yeah. On today's episode of Spill the Tea with LLIB, we have the incredible Louise Mora.
So Louise, can you share with our listeners more about your business and the unique aspects that set it apart?
Yes. So we're a boutique branding agency called Brandfolk, and we help small to medium-sized businesses stand out and grow within their industry. And we specialise with the hospitality sector, so we help restaurants, cafes, bars, and then also we do quite a lot within the wellness sector as well, so nutritional therapists, dentists, CBD oil brands, so just to name a few. It can be really broad, but that's sort of what makes it exciting. So we help those businesses at various different stages, really. So whether you're a startup and you're looking for your unique identity, we can help you launch, or you might be an established business and you really want to sort of refresh your branding. It might be a little bit outdated, or there might not be, you might not be talking to the right audience anymore. So we can help you with a rebrand. Or you might just be at a point in your business where you're looking to grow a little bit, and you want someone who can help you sort of expand on the branding you've already got. You might have launched a couple of years ago and you've just got the very basics there. We'll come in, sort of do a bit of a deep dive and have a look at where you've got gaps, and then help you sort of fill them in so that you're kind of set up to grow in the future. Yeah, so at Brandfolk, we're really passionate about getting brands right from the start. So we make sure that all the elements are in place so that you're set up to hit any goals that you want to achieve, you're talking to the right audience, and that you've got all the elements in place to sort of grow in the future, so that you can you're not having to sort of waste money, waste time, and go back and redo things.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Amazing.
So what are the unique aspects that set you apart from other branding agencies?
Yeah, I think it's it's about the importance of placing the importance on getting it right. One of the things is about education. So educating these businesses on the process that we kind of follow. So if we break it down into the steps, so we've got phase one is all the insights. So really understanding who your competitors are, so sort of doing a market analysis, looking at what other companies are doing really well, what they're not doing so great in, finding where you can sit in that marketplace and really stand out. And then looking at your sort of brand strategy next. So being really, really clear on what's really important about your business, looking at your objectives, where you want to be going, what are your goals, what does your company stand for, your vision and your values. And then also sort of being really clear on who your audience is. It's a really, really important part to sort of understand who it is that you're talking to, and also how they need to be spoken to, how are they going to interact and relate to your branding. So once we've got those elements in place, we look at the visual aspects for the vision identity. And, again, it's about creating a bit of a brand toolkit, I like to think of it as, and it's having those elements in place. So you've always got, your logo, your colours and your fonts. They're the sort of the basics. But, the extra bits that you need to think about are like your tone of voice. Yeah. So the extra things to think about is your tone of voice, your messaging. So again, sort of that's going back to who you're talking to and how you're saying it. Your imagery, what's your visual style that people are going to recognize, and then any additional assets, so like icons, illustrations, those type of things, that kind of builds up this suite of materials that you can then sort of pull from and create that full brand identity, and by doing that you're creating something that's really cohesive, It's going to be really clear to your customers that whenever you put something out, it's coming from your business. And then next thing to consider is obviously the deliverables. So making sure that you've got those brand elements and that when you apply them to your website, your socials, leaflets, anything, all those touch points are all look like they're coming from one brand.
Yeah.
And then the last thing to think about is obviously sort of how to get it out there, your marketing. So being consistent, being really clear, that comes back again into sort of who you're talking to and making sure that what you're saying is answering the problems that your customers are facing. And yeah, it's all kind of singing from the same hymn sheet, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think once you can kind of put those steps in place, you're in a really good stead then for a really successful branding.
Yeah. So what inspired you then to venture into branding in this niche?
Well, I've always been creative. My mum loves to sort of talk about the fact that when I used to come home from nursery, I'd be like talking and asking me what I was doing. It was like, I was gluing and sticking. So yeah, it was. I think I'm really fortunate. I've always kind of known what I wanted to do. I always wanted to be something creative. And then, at school I studied graphic design. I went into college and university and studied graphic design. So I was on quite a clear path. And then went straight into work after university and worked in a big agency in Manchester for about 12 years or so. And I loved it. I learned so much working in an actual agency. And then I just kind of got to a point where I decided I wanted a little bit more flexibility. I just started a family and had an 18-month-old. And yeah, I think it was just the time to sort of step back from, quite corporate sort of life and do it on my own and try something new. And also I wanted a bit more sort of diversity in the type of clients I worked with and a bit more control on the jobs that, doing jobs that I really enjoyed and I'm really passionate about.
Yeah.
And branding is that, I've worked on lots of different areas of graphic design and branding's really sort of what makes my heart sing and sort of seeing, because you cover so much when you're working on a branding job. You're right in there at the beginning and really getting into the depths of sort of what a business is about. And then, sort of seeing that through and being really visual and then applying it to all the other bits. So, one day I could be working on a website or, for a CBD oil brand. And the next day I'm working on some branding for a burrito bar. So it's that sort of diversity and that's sort of what's driven me to set up on my own and
So what's that journey been like? Has it been an easy journey?
No. I think I've been self-employed now for 9 years.
Wow.
So yeah, I think sometimes it's easy to forget that's quite an achievement.
Yeah. Huge.
And then I sort of decided to go down the sort of, more of an agency sort of setup about sort of 2 years, 18 months ago, because I wanted to sort of have more growth in the company. And that has been quite challenging because obviously it's sort of going from sort of being just my name out there to this company and being, sort of focusing a lot more on my own marketing. It's, and wearing all the hats. And some of those hats don't fit very well.
No. Some of them need to just go back in the wardrobe.
Oh,
and
God,
hide.
totally. I'm not really a hat person.
No.
Yeah, not today. Not today.
Yeah. So I find things like, like the financial side and managing the books and the business side of things much more challenging. But I think it's also made me realise that there's certain parts of the business that I've got down. I can do those. Those are the easy bits. It's the other bits but it's a challenge and it's I'm all for sort of learning and growing and I sort of take it as it comes. Hopefully I'll grow enough that I can just pass some bits on.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Delegation is key.
Yes.
That came up in our come up so much in the last couple of months, but as soon as you've got the finances to be able to delegate, because so much of it is small business, isn't it? You know, I know that there'll be a lot of people listening today who think, oh, I'd absolutely love these services, you know, and they absolutely should be available at the very beginning. But at the very beginning, you're right.
Yeah.
You wear so many different hats that you have to become almost an expert or knowledgeable enough to get by to a certain degree, don't you? You know, so I know I designed my own logo and, you know, came up with different, you know, brands and played about with a lot of things social media wise because I had to. There wasn't any money in the business at all to be able to even pay myself, let alone, you know, pay somebody else to do that sort of work. So I think it is a huge challenge.
Yeah, totally. And I think as well, it's about sort of taking advantage of, you know, we're so lucky. Well, we're lucky and we're not. It can be really overwhelming, the amount of sort of tools you've got available to you now. It's like you're bombarded all the time, aren't you, with, oh, you can, you know, pay £10 a month subscription and you can get, you know, access to this and it'll do this for you. Those elements are great, but yeah, it is sort of overwhelming. But I think it's identifying where you can sort of spend money wisely. I think, and branding and sort of marketing are expensive. You know, they can be quite big outlays, but I think, you know, that's where sort of identifying and you know, when I'm talking about like the education side of it, obviously if you're in a position to pay someone to do branding, go for it. That's you know, it is ideal. Ultimate. But I think it's about also being a bit savvy. You know, if you've got quite a small pot of money, it's working out where it's best to sort of spend it. You know, maybe you can work out some of your values and things like that yourself, and then invest the money on getting your logo and your core elements right. And then, you know, something we kind of have seen quite a big interest for is sort of Canva brand toolkits. So getting all your bits of branding that you've already got, sort of bringing them into Canva. And then what we'll do is we'll sort of create that suite that you've got to work with. We'll set up a load of social media templates. There might be additional templates of sort of like presentations, and, you know, for hospitalities, we're doing a lot of like menus that you can sort of just go in, edit, update, and then print it off from there. And that's been really helpful for sort of some of the smaller businesses because they're managing a lot of things in-house and they haven't got an in-house design team. And I think that's where, you know, we talk about these hats. You know, people are having to wear design hats, and, you know, I've been in the business 20 years. It's taken me a long time to sort of like hone my skills, and it's overwhelming. It takes a lot of time away from what you want to be doing,
what you're good at, what your skill set is.
It can be quite you know, I don't want to, obviously we see a lot of businesses coming through, and sometimes when you see the logo, you know that that's being created somewhere, and you see similar logos. And I think what's really, really important about your brand is, you said it at the start, it's identifying you and your business and the unique aspects that set it apart, you know, that USP. And it's that there's got to be more thought into it than just jumping on and creating a logo. And people jump to that first, you know, logo, website, Instagram, like that's what they're jumping into, and they're trying to create these things instead of sitting back and, like what you've just said, well, what are your values? What's your mission statement? Like, I don't feel like so many businesses are looking at that side of things. Like, what's your plan? Like, what is your plan? Are you going to plan to grow it? Are you going to plan to, you know, to franchise? Like, what's your big dream for this business? Because that's where you need to start. Like, you know, and it's investing in outsourcing if it's going to come back around and pay you, because people don't see that if you invest in somebody, a professional who knows what they're doing, that money's going to come back back into your business, and you're going to be seen as more professional. You're going to be seen as the trusted business over if you've got something like a website half done. Like a website half done, or a website that you click on and it goes to a page not found. You know, or websites that haven't been updated. Like, put me off straight away.
Yeah.
You know, we're constantly, you know, we need to update the website. We need to do this. We need to, even with the logo, get a professional to then upskill that in a few years when you have got the money in the pot. I just don't think people recognize how important it is to put yourself as the professional, trusted business. And a lot of it is what people see. And I know it sounds awful because sometimes the best businesses and the best business owners and the best products and services aren't seen as the best because of the branding's not there or the marketing's not there for it. So
that's it. And if your your branding looks cheap, it's going to put people off. You know, you might be trying to sell a premium product, but if your branding looks cheap, it's telling your customers that it's that trust issue. And the same with the marketing. If you're not putting yourself out there, then people aren't going to see you. So I think it very much, those elements sort of go hand in hand. But yeah, you're totally right. I think, and that's sort of what's important is, you might not have to have, if you're launching a business and money, it's naturally, it's tight when you first sort of starting out and you don't know quite what you're doing. But I think if you can get those core elements, right, then, and also sort of start putting things in place. You might not have everything to launch with, but if you've got, a strong little logo that really sort of ties back into what your values are and your mission and your goals and everything, and you've got a solid colour palette and you've got a strong typeface that's identifiable and and your messaging is right, then that's enough to kind of maybe get going with, but then you can build on it. And I think that's the key, is that you have a brand that's flexible, so that you're not having to, in 3 years or a couple of years time, go back and redesign it all and re-spend that money. You can actually just add to it. And I think that's what we've sort of try and instill in all of our clients, especially the smaller ones, is sort of just getting those elements right from the start.
Yeah, it's like building that solid foundation, isn't it, for a house to sit on. So, you can have this wall at the beginning of a pyramid kind of, and then, the next stage and the next stage. And if the base is solid, you
can always come back down,
then you can build up solidly from that.
Exactly. It's exactly that. And we talk about logo slapping, and it's like, well, if you've literally just got a logo and it's just plastered sort of over everything, there's nothing else to it, then it's not really sort of saying very much. Whereas actually if you just think about it and have like an idea behind it.
Have you got a favourite logo that you like from a business?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Because thinking about lots of logos now, I'm thinking, I wonder how much actual thought went into the logo, because isn't it Costa? No, it might be Starbucks that doesn't have a jingle to it.
Right.
Most companies have like some sort of like jingle or tag or thing. And I think it's Starbucks. It's one of the big coffee chains that don't have to have that, because they're so recognised for this logo.
I didn't know that. Oh God, you've put me on the spot. I like logos that are just really simple, and I think logos that, that like you've got those that are quite established now, like Apple, and
Apple's cute. I like
Apple. You don't even need to sort of see any wording on it. You just know what it is. And I think those are sort of my sort of favourite ones. Those sort of classics. Like the Nike logo. Yeah, it's. I know.
Do you think a busy logo is a confusing logo?
Not necessarily. I think it's what's appropriate for that business. I think personally I like quite minimal things, so I'm naturally sort of drawn to that. But I like the fact that it's identifiable instantly. You don't need the wording on it. You just know once you've got the tick, you've got it, then it's Nike. But they've spent millions and millions of pounds on marketing to get to that point. I think it's what's appropriate for the business.
Absolutely, 100%. So what do you find most fulfilling then about the work that you do?
I really like helping people and helping businesses grow. I'm a natural problem solver. If someone sort of, friends are coming to me, I'll like try and fix it for them. But I think that's goes for a lot of sort of people who do like graphic design. It's your problem solving. Yes, you make things look beautiful, and but ultimately a client's coming to us because they've got a problem and we need to fix how we get a solution that looks great, but also sort of, you know, their audience resonates with. And I think that's what's always sort of, you know, made it sort of exciting. And like I said, you know, working with lots of different clients and the fact that it's diverse all the time and, you know, no 2 days are the same. That's sort of what keeps me excited. Yeah.
So what piece of advice would you give to another woman in business?
I think it's not being too hard on yourself. Not very good at listening to this advice for myself.
I don't think any of us are.
Yeah, not to be too hard on yourself, and you know that you can't do it all at once. I think it's you know, we're all guilty of sort of trying to sort of be the perfect version of, you know, the perfect mother, the perfect wife or partner, and you know, the perfect business person. But you know, really, what does that even look like? I think it's just sort of do the best you can and just go for it.
Yeah,
love that.
And I think, you know, you mentioned it before. You've been going for 9 years, and I bet 9 years ago you never dreamed that you would be in this position.
No,
now, you know, so. Yeah, I feel like we don't often stop to look back, do we, and appreciate how far we've come. And, you know, we only dreamed of that 9 years ago.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, totally. And I think, you know, it took me a long time to sort of be brave enough to step out of, you know, this, you know, it was a good job. It was, you know, I was really secure. And especially with a young child, it was like, it was really scary. But I think that's something I'm really proud of, that taking that leap of faith and just going for it. And I've never looked back. There's been times when there's been wobbles, but I'll never regret doing it.
No.
I feel like motherhood makes you really brave in lots of ways, doesn't it? You know, it makes you reassess and reevaluate who you are now, what you want from life now, and how that's got to be different because of the little people that depend on you so much, and what you want to give to them that maybe you didn't have, or, you know, maybe you did and you're trying to replicate that in some way, and to make life good for them.
Yeah,
and I think motherhood really makes you brave in the decisions that you make. And I know that had I not had a third child, I would never have a business ever. It wasn't on the plans. So yeah, motherhood, it's not all bad, is it?
No. Definitely not.
So if you could spill the tea with anyone, who would it be and why?
I was really thinking about this. I actually think I would like to spill the tea with my younger self.
Ah, nice.
I think I was quite a shy child growing up, and I sort of didn't have much confidence, and I think that sort of came through as I was younger, you know, a younger adult as well. And I think I'd just like to go back and say, like, just be brave, go for it, and that it'll just work out. Just, you know, I think, and just stop doubting myself and stop listening to the other people, other people, worrying what other people are thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, I got little tingles.
Yeah,
it's dead lovely. I love it when people answer that question and it resonates with the younger self, because you know, it's a flip, isn't it? Because if you could go back and tell her, your life might be so much different and you wouldn't be where you are now, or you know, if you did and she took that advice, like, how different would that be? You know, it's just I
mean, I suppose I've got 2 young girls, and they, you know, I feel like I have, as their mum and also sort of as a female in the design industry, like a bit of a responsibility to like, you know, sort of, you know, I can't obviously go back and talk to myself, but I can, you know, try and instill that in my girls, that, you know, they can achieve whatever they want, you know, to set out to achieve. And it's just like, having that responsibility to show them, demonstrate that for them. And, in the design industry, like when I was sort of starting out, there weren't that many sort of female creative directors. It's only really recently I've sort of started to notice it, really coming through. And so, I think there's that sort of being a little bit responsible for being a role model for other younger creatives kind of coming through as well.
Absolutely. Definitely. And talking about being a role model, we have a closing.
I hope you're not a creative.
No, a closing tradition on the show where we like to ask our guests if they were to make myself and Cal a perfect cup of tea, how would you go about making that tea?
Well, I love a builder's brew. Has to be strong with very little amount of milk. It's the
tea you could trot a donkey on.
Yeah.
That's what one of our other guests has said.
Tea you can trot a donkey on.
It's like, we're talking David Dickinson colorised.
Yeah. Really? Oh, God. On a scale of 1 to David Dickinson, how'd you like your tea?
Right up there. I'm afraid to say I'm Team Cal.
Yes. Don't be afraid
Tell everyone how you make it.
Don't be afraid to say that. She's the scary one.
My tea bag in water. I don't like it to stew for too long, so it's a good squeeze against the side, and then add the tiniest amount of milk afterwards.
Yeah.
I don't understand the milk with the tea bag. It blocks it up.
Nor me.
It's fine.
It's
fine.
Really
actually,
divisive.
when you described how you make the tea, I was thinking, wow, that's going to be really weak and watery. Were you like yours to stay in a little bit longer, don't you?
Strong yet milky. I am. So a bit more milk than you. You're a very, very strong brew, but still, ultimately, and the most important thing is that tea bag and the milk connection.
There's no connection.
No, there is no connection.
I agree.
No connection.
It blocks up
okay,
holes.
Louise. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Chill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mostly have loved having you on the show. I the most have loved this episode.
No, I love it too. I love Brandon and I love marketing and I love everything that you bring. And I just love how honest you are around the purpose of Brandon. There's so many people out there now who will just do a quick logo, who will just do a quick this and a quick website. And you just take so much time and so much care of
the journey that business, and the business owner, deserves, which is just, it's just beautiful. And we do highly recommend anyone who is looking for Brandon's support. You're always on our mind.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, even though now it's going to be, obviously for me, it's going to be how you make a cup of tea. But I'll try and keep the Brandon up there as well. But thank you for so much.
Well, it's about, who you're talking to, so I'll make it your way next time for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Just make sure if you work with her, you make the cup of tea. Amazing. Thank you so much for being an amazing guest.
Thank you so much for having me. I've loved it.